and I will let Sarah take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Mitial. I am with People Architectural Group. We are an HR company. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my PowerPoint up and running. All right. Yes. Yes, thank you for being here today. We are here to talk a little bit about workforce trends. Before I get started, I want to thank Matt for having me in the Addison Public Library. We have a great presentation for you, and this presentation is really to talk about trends, talk about how you can, as an HR leader, as an HR manager, business owner, can prepare yourself for what is going on right now. Again, my name is Sarah Mitial. I'm from People Architectural Group. We are an HR company that focuses on talent acquisition and talent development. When I think about what we do as an organization, we are an HR company. We help small to mid-sized businesses find candidates for their open positions. We help train people within organization with soft skill training. I also say that we help small businesses who are ready to scale but can't afford an HR support. We can be their HR support and provide that support to them. We help small to mid-sized business leaders stand taller by being the bridge between great candidates and provide them with training and development, as you see right here, talent acquisition, talent development, and consulting services in the areas of HR, IT, finance, and warehouse. We not only when you work with us, you are helping, not only are you working with us, but you are also helping over 2,000 kids go to school in the Central Plateau of Haiti because we donate a portion of our profit to help these kids who otherwise would not have a quality education. So when you're looking for a someone to help you with recruiting, someone to help you with training and development and consulting services, consider helping us because we are doing some great work out there and it takes people like you to help us do that. So for today's webinar, we are going to talk about workforce trends, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is workforce trend, how do you define it, what should workforce trend matter, why should it matter to you as a leader of an organization, and the 10 workforce trends that I think are important. There are so many things that we need to keep an eye out for, but the tension that you should know about, you should really care about as you are working within your organization, focusing on your people issues. And those are the things as a leader, I believe will help you win in the marketplace. So when I do webinars, I always ask people, those on the line, to help me a little bit. So when you think about workforce trends, what I would love to hear, if you wouldn't mind, just in the chat, write your response of what are workforce trends. When you think of workforce trends, what comes to mind? So in your chat, feel free to respond. Tell me, what do you think of when you think of workforce trends? There are a lot of things out there. There are a lot of trends out there. So what comes to mind? Operational structure, absolutely. That is some of the things you're thinking about. What are within the organization? What is the structure you need to think about? Aging workforce, remote workforce, absolutely. All of these things are the trends out there. Workforce trend can include better benefit, inspiring employees, types of employee engagement, flexible workforce, the work-life balance that we are seeing right now. There are a lot of things that we can think of when we think about workforce trends. And when you think about those things, to thank you everybody for participating, but when you think about it, why should workforce trends matter to you as an organization, as a leader? What do you think? Why do you think it's important for you as a leader to look at workforce trend and focus on and know what workforce trends are? As a leader, why do you think it's important to know? Why do you think workforce trends should matter to you? When we look right now, the workforce, the unemployment rate is 3.5 as of July. And to stay competitive, the reason why I think it's very important for us why workforce trends should matter to us, is because to stay competitive and remain enticing the employees that work for you and the potential employees that you're recruiting, I think it's very important for us to understand what's out there, who are out there, what motivate employees. We have some great organizations that are doing research and certain research with an organization that we don't have access to. When you think about the workforce trends, where you think about millennials, you think about different aspects, you think of work-life balance, the micromanaging, you're thinking about the aging workforce and all those things that you were mentioning before. Most likely you have people within those categories that fall into the workforce, within your workforce, within your organization. So it's very important for you to know and understand what is in the workforce and why does it matter. And you as a leader, if you consider yourself as a leader, you should want to know about the workforce trend. Do you question you, even if you don't put it in the chat, but think about that. Do you consider yourself a leader? And as a leader, what is your role when you are thinking about things within your organization? When you think about what's going on in the workforce, in the job market, you need to understand what those things are. And as leader, you are growing every day, and you are as good as the data that is in front of you. You are as good as the data. And if you don't have valid data, if you don't know what's going on in the workforce, if you are not reviewing those survey and research that are being done by people that's all they do every day, you won't know how to make sure that you are creating a great environment for those who are in the workforce and your workforce and those you are trying to attract. So for you to attract and retain great talent, you have to understand the workforce. You have to keep apprised of what's happening. And one of the things I want you to know is that as a leader, no matter where you are in your journey as a leader, you are growing. You are growing. You are leading with integrity. You need to understand that you have potential, and your potential is beyond what you can see, and you have more value than what you've been heard. So that tells me, as a leader, you are I think I'm missing a slide here. As a leader, for you to really understand what you are doing, you are leading others, you need to make sure that your potential, that means what you know today, based on the data you learn today, you're going to be a more effective leader tomorrow. And the things that you have value, and your value does not diminish because of what somebody else says, because you haven't done it before. You have value. So when you come to my office, the first thing I tell myself every day is that I'm going to do the best of my best. And the best of my best, I want to get as much information that I need to be able to do the best of my best. I want to make great decisions. I want to make data-driven decisions. And all of these things require me to know what's out there. As a leader, I think you need to lead with integrity, and how you lead with integrity will help you a lot, is based on what you know. So when you are leading, your people need to trust you. You need to communicate. You need to be able to be confident in the decision that you are making. And the trends that we learn, the data we have, will help us be able to lead with integrity. And so right now, I'm going to start talking about the 10 workforce trends. This is the slide that kind of move a little bit, but this is the potential slide I was talking about. Your potential is beyond what you can see, and you have more value than what you've been told. We are going to talk about the 10 trends, and the trends are depends on what's going on with your organization. Those trends may be, the priority of those trends may shift for you, right? But as I am talking to, I'm going within organizations, as I'm talking to my clients, as I'm reading information, those trends are based on what I think my client sees, how my client sees them. But you can take those trends and prioritize them based on your own needs. But the first trends that I think that is very important right now is a data-driven decision. When you are making this, HR leaders need to make this decision based on data. We kind of talk a little bit about that. You use data to drive the HR the decision that you are making. Professionals need to leverage those things. And how do you do that? By leveraging those, it's going to help you to make prediction. It's going to help you address turnover. It's going to help you to build engagement within your organization. It's going to help you to enhance the workforce planning that you are doing. And you can do that by the data-driven. When I'm talking about data-driven from a recruiting perspective, as I am looking at trends of what's happening, I'm saying, okay, what does the market looks like? As I'm recruiting, how hard is it? When I look at the data and I see that the workforce right now, the unemployment rate is 3.5% in July. That means most likely people who want to have a job has a job. So that's what the data, on the surface, that's what the data is telling me. But when you really look at it, there are other things that is impacting that number. You may have there's a lot of people that are working on a consulting basis. There are other people who are underworking right now. They have a job, but is that job the job that they really need? Right. So you have to go beyond that to understand it. And from your organization, you need to look at what are the data telling you when you are making decisions? So if you have a problem, let's say, in regards to turnover, even if the trend saying that, you have to be data driven, and from a turnover perspective, you need to be able to, I would say, are you asking your employees who are leaving your organization why they are leaving? Are you asking the employees that are leaving your organization what are the benefits you could have provided? Were you asking those employees if there anything you could have done to keep them into the position? Are you asking them what kind of training they could have received, they would have wanted to receive? So all of these information could help you within your organization. If you've done a survey, what are the employees telling you that they need? And when what they tell you they want, what are they telling you that they don't want? What do they tell you they want more of? And when you take those data, so that data is specific to your own organization, and take a look at it. And then from a recruiting perspective, identifying sourcing channels. So are you finding, when you look at data based on the job you just filled, where you searched, did you find the kind of candidates that you wanted? Where else can you be able to look to find the best qualified candidate for your open position for that role? If I'm looking, maybe where you look to fill an HR position, where you post an HR position, is not where you're going to post a IT position or a finance or a marketing position. Are you taking those into account to say, last time I hired a great person, where did I find it? Are you looking for diverse candidate, and are you finding them in the channel that you are utilizing right now? So look at the data within your organization to make sure that you are making the best decision. So data driven and workforce for right now in 2023, as you are planning for 2024, think about how you can utilize the data you have within your organization to make the best decision. Are you using artificial intelligence? Machine learning is something that is huge right now in recruiting. So as you are recruiting, are you utilizing some system to help you screen, to help you access candidate skills or predict candidate success within the role that you are doing? So if you're not doing that, those are the things that you should be thinking. So my first workforce trend that we are talking about, data driven. So as you are making decision for benefit, you're making decision for compensation and recruiting and so on and so forth, all of the different HR, all of the different spectrum within your organization, make sure you are utilizing data to help you make the best informed decision. So my second trend that I would like to get is HR technology advancement. So when you're thinking about technology that is continue to advance, again, AI is not going away. How do you automate some of those systems? How do you connect the things that you are doing with HR with what you are doing with payroll and finance? How are you doing? Are you connecting the data to other systems that are, so you can minimize error, and you can also make it self-service and so on and so forth. So how can you streamline your administrative task and enhance decision making and improving overall efficiency? Are you looking at those technology? How are you utilizing technology right now? We're going to talk a little bit more about hybrid, but when you think about the system, how are you utilizing technology to connect with your workforce? So if you want to be prepared and make your attract and retain employees, we need to look at how to be more efficient utilizing technology. So data-driven is my number one workforce trend. And then number two is the technology, HR tech advancement. So we can even take the HR piece off and say technology advancements to overall is my number two workforce trend. And then, number three is the workforce and hybrid workforce. I can tell you right now, every data that I see is telling me that the remote and hybrid workforce is not going away. So when I think about that, so to continuously, the remote and hybrid workforce is anticipated to stay, right? So within the organization, how are you adapting your practices to support a flexible work arrangement and ensuring employee engagement and productivity? So when I think about connecting, in the past, when we were all within the office, when we needed to connect, I just left my desk and go to somebody else. I go to the break room and I can have a conversation. I'm connecting with people. But now, as a hybrid workforce, one day I'm in the office, the next is somebody else is not there. Sometimes I can miss you can miss your co-workers, you never see them for months, and we guys work together. So how are we connecting? How are we utilizing technology? How are we utilizing the data? You know, the pandemic started in 2020. We have plenty of data to show us within our organization how things are working. So as you see those data, are people connecting? If they are not connecting, how can you make them connect? How can you make that connection last? How are you onboarding people? How are you offboarding people? How are you making sure that we stay connected as a team? So when you think about growing your organization, as you think about 2024 that is coming up, you start planning for it, how can you adjust? How can you budgeting period is going to start to make sure that you have the technology that you need to make sure people are stay connected? How are you recruiting? How are you expecting people to come into the office to do an interview? Or are you making sure that you are keeping that hybrid workforce? You are utilizing technology to make sure that you keep that process going. And also, would you describe turnover within your organization? If turnover is an issue, are you utilizing data, again, like I talked earlier, asking people why they are leaving? And the remote, from the remote and hybrid, are you forcing people back into the office? And when they come to the office, what are you doing to ensure that there's the connection? Is there a reason that you're asking them to come to the office? Are you creating that connection to say, okay, we are doing X, Y, and Z? You giving them reason, because if people can work at home, they don't see the purpose of driving 2 hours, an hour to work, an hour back to home, and so on and so forth. So what are you doing? We do not have, if you do not have turnover or everything is great within your organization, then that's good. But if turnover is high, prior to the pandemic, if it was low prior to the pandemic and now it's high, are you utilizing the data that you have to kind of dig deep to understand why it is high? So from a training perspective, if you are providing training, are you making sure that your training is accessible both from a high for those who are working remotely compared to those who are in person? What are you doing? Are you asking everybody to come in for training, or is there a way you can make it to reflect that hybrid workforce that you are doing? Okay, so data-driven is number one. HR technology, understanding technology and utilizing technology to make sure that you are giving people the ability to access information, and even if they are remote. And from a remote and hybrid workforce, are you rewriting your policy? What are you doing to ensure that you're embracing that hybrid workforce? And number 4 is remote onboarding and offboarding. So with remote work, we continue to see onboarding is something that sometimes it's not as thoughtful or thought of before. Are you making sure that you're utilizing technology to make sure that you are doing the onboarding properly? And as you are offboarding, what are the system you are utilizing to ensure employee are integrated effectively with onboarding? And similarly, removing the offboarding process are being developed to maintain a positive employee experience. So the employee experience, you need to have a great employee experience when you think about it coming in, as much as it is employees are going offboarding your organization. So what are you doing with the onboarding? So the onboarding is like thoughtful. Are you having that 30, 60, and 90 day plan for your employees so they understand that if they are meeting the expectations that you want, that they know what is expected of them when they onboard? And as they are offboarding, you are letting them know what are the expectations, what do they need. If they have a 401k, are you making sure that you provide them the information that they need to offboard? And are you utilizing the technology that you have also to ensure that people can do the things that they need, utilizing the technology in case they can't reach you? If there's any questions, please feel free to put it in the comment section. But until then, I'm going to keep going. My number five trend that you need to keep you need to keep watching on is talent acquisition. When I think about talent acquisition, I think about so many great things. I think about the war on talent. Right now, it's very hard to, when you think about a recruiting position. Before 2020, when I post a job, I could have 200 people apply for a role. Well, right now, things are a little bit different. So when I'm recruiting, I have to be very intentional on the of how I am recruiting. So I am not only posting something and expect candidates to come in. Are you, as a recruiter or as a hiring authority, are you sourcing those passive candidates? What are you doing to ensure that you are posting at multiple sites? Who are you recruiting for? And who else is on your team? And how can you complement those individuals that are in your team? How are you getting those hard to find candidates? What are you doing? So you have to be intentional about getting the recruiting process. You have to have a plan before you start going out there and said, before you start posting, do you really know who you are recruiting for? And how are you recruiting for somebody? If we are in a hybrid and remote work environment, are you open to hire are you opening it to the country, or are you trying to get somebody right now in your in your vicinity of your office? Right now, we have the ability to tap into talent that we never was able to do before the pandemic because of remote and hybrid workforce. So what are you doing? What is your plan? And are you getting the candidates that you want from a recruiting perspective? So are you from an employee branding, candidate experience, and utilizing AI in recruiting? All of these things are possible that you can be able to really target specific recruiting, get your recruiting effort and be able to find great candidate for your organization. So I think that it is very, it is absolutely thinking about recruiting, thinking about who you are going to hire, thinking about how to utilize AI to help you screen your candidate. And most ATSs and so on and so forth have built-in AI to help you to help you screen some of those candidates. Are you utilizing right now? You have a lot of AI is able to help you create interviews where you send things out for employees. Maybe you ask them from a video perspective, they can do part of the information where you are asynchronous, and they send it back to you. You can review it and so on and so forth. So keeping the process going. If you are recruiting, make sure that you really take the time to really focus on the process. One of the things that I'm hearing from a lot of candidates is that they start a recruiting process with an organization, and then next thing they knew, they don't hear anything. So I think it is reaching out back to let them know, keep the communication going, let them know where you are in the process, I think is very important. And also, if for some reason the position is on pause, communicate, just let people know where you are. And then when you do that, they will be able to, the candidate experience is very important. It's not just when you hire people, you give them great, you want them to give you great recommendation, but even if somebody applied for a position and it doesn't work out, you may have something in the future that comes up, another position, and then they apply for it. But if you didn't treat them well, they're not going to want to come back. So make sure you think clearly about the process, and make sure that you have streamlined your process completely. And the same thing from a training and development perspective. You want to make sure that you are, if you are looking for vendor to come in, you want to treat them with respect as well, and think about that. So think about your talent acquisition, think about your data driven, your HR, your technology, your remote work, remote onboarding and offboarding process. Is it the way that you want it to be? Is it giving you the result that you want? And if it's not, what is the data telling you? How can you adjust it to make sure that you are meeting the needs of your employees? And talent acquisition, make sure you are thinking through what you are doing, who you are reaching, and make sure that you are putting out the right expectation. My number 6 trend that I think is very important that we need to think about is employee well-being. And the employee when I think about employee well-being, I'm thinking about what are the offering wellness program, mental health support, and creating positive work environment to enhance the satisfaction and retention of your employee. We know that COVID is increasing, number of COVID diagnosis is increasing again. So what are you doing from an employer perspective to ensure that you are making sure that you are encouraging your employees to take care of themselves? I love this Gallup. If you've ever taken a Gallup survey, one of the questions that they ask is that you bring your whole self to work. Are you bringing your whole self to work? I believe that's one of the questions. And when I think about bringing my whole self to work, that means when I don't feel well, I am bringing it to work as well. So as an employer, we need to make sure that we are providing the resources for people to take care of themselves. We are providing that resources and encourage people. If you have, I remember one of my clients, it was December, and they had like 20, almost like a month of vacation, but never took one day. And they were so overwhelmed. I'm like, really? Have you been taking care of yourself? Would it be better for you to take a day or two off, get yourself back recentered and come back? So are you encouraging your employees to do that? So I would say, again, listen to your employees. When I think about the data, what are the data telling you? What are the things that, if you've never done a survey, I would encourage you to do a survey, because this is what the workforce trends are telling us. Do a survey and ask your employees, what are the wellness benefits that are valued to you? Because what value to my organization may not, for my employees, may not be the same thing for your employees. So ask them the questions and help them to come back to you, so you can provide and then cater your benefit to meet the needs of your specific employees. So my number 7 workforce trend is diversity and inclusion. When I think when I think about diversity and inclusion, we want to make sure that it's an initiative that is not going away. Within organization, placing a lot of placing a lot of emphasis on being a diverse workforce. And diverse workforce is not just about the diversity, but the equity and then the inclusion. When I get the diverse candidates into the organization, am I making sure that they have what they need to be successful? Am I also including them into the program within the organization? So if you really want a diverse workforce, you want to really have a great diversity program, you need to think about how does that change before you start going out there and start bringing diverse candidates within your organization. I always encourage organization to make sure that your employees that are already on board, they're already in your organization, let them understand that what you are trying to do, help them understand your goal. prepare them. Otherwise, you're going to create other problems because they may not understand what it is. Are you changing your policies to include, to make sure that the equity and inclusion is included, to bring that, make it part of your organization from inside out? Are your leaders buy-in into it? Are you providing unconscious bias training? I think I always start, whenever I do training for DI training, I always start with unconscious bias training, because we all have our own biases, but a lot of time we want to point our fingers to others. But how do we take that mirror and put it in front of us and make sure that we understand what it is? So make each employees that are already on your roster understand their own biases, and so let's get that out of the way before we bring others, and make sure that you are putting processes in place to include it in all of the programs that you are doing. HR is a lot of time people say we are the keeper of information, but no, every leader into the organization has a part of bringing in, building the culture. It starts with the leadership team, but it takes everyone into the organization to make sure that you have a diverse and inclusive culture within an organization. So my number 8 is, workforce trend is the rapid upskilling and reskilling. So continuous learning, key trends, technology rapidly. We want to make sure that we are identifying the skill gap, right? And providing training opportunity to help employees stay relevant within their role. So one of the things that as an organization, People Architectural Group, what we do is we go with an organization and make sure that employers, we help them make sure that employees within organization understand their own skill and understand what they do best and how they contribute to the bottom line of their organization. And all these things takes data. What are you seeing within your organization? If you are promoting managers, I see this a lot. We promote managers, and the managers don't understand the difference between individual contributors and managing. So how are you doing that with the reskilling? When I think about technology, we are utilizing technology so much more than before. Are you providing resources and training and upping the skills of your employees so they can be able to use the technologies that you are bringing in to adapt to a remote and hybrid workforce? What are you doing with that? If you're not doing it, you want to make sure you address this in 2024, because that will help with employee engagement. That will help with the turnover. That will help your organizational culture. You are making sure that employees understand what they need to be successful. If they don't know something, you are training them and making sure that they continue to contribute to the bottom line of your organization. My number 9 trend is flexible benefit. When you think about what are the packages that become more popular, you want to tailor the benefit to the individual preferences. You want to make sure that you are tailoring the benefits that you're providing to your organization. That is so huge. Right now, we see that in the past, I saw, high salary was what employees wanted when you look at trends. And right now, people want great benefits. They want that remote work environment. They want the work-life balance. They want the wellness program. All of these things, they want to stay fit and well and healthy. So if you need to make sure that you understand what within your organization, what your employees are asking for, and make sure that you are providing that. This will help with employee satisfaction and loyalty. Employees will feel that you care about them. Employees will want to contribute to your organization when they feel like you are taking care of them and providing what they need. And my final my final a trend that I want to talk about today is the gig economy and the contingent workforce. Right now, when I think about the workforce, you are talking about embracing the contingent workforce. Who within the contingent force means that employees working temporarily for organization. I have an employee, a client that I work with. What they are doing right now is that they had people who retired, but there's a lot. They had one client, they had about last year about 10 people retiring, and there was a lot of institutional knowledge getting leaving the organization. They end up keeping some of those employees on site to train new employees that they are coming in. Those employees are working, so their institutional knowledge doesn't just fly out, but those employees are slowly, there's a plan for them to get out of the organization. So I think this is something that is, thinking about how do you make sure you utilize people, or try before you buy, or thinking about the different trends, the diverse workforce. Thinking about what are some projects that you have that you need to do. How can you hire someone who has the experience to come in to work for you to help you fulfill that project? And then when you have that, how are you helping him or her work with someone within your organization to kind of learn from them? So that skill, that person, you continue to grow your employees as well. So another part, the gig economy, we have right now, everybody is afraid because they think that if you look at the economic outlook, people expecting last quarter to have a recession, whether last quarter of this year or first quarter of 2024. People are, so every organization is tightening up their belt. So even a lot of organizations who even have open position, they are not hiring people. They are relying on contractors. They're relying on the contingent workforce and gig economy labor employees to come in to fill this position, holding on to that headcount instead of hiring people. So what can we do? How can we gain flexibility and independent and jobs, provide job security and so on and so forth to those we have, and continue to help them grow? How can we utilize the contingent workforce to get the work done? So I think sometime when you think about the workforce, we have to think about ways to imagine ways to collaborate with talent within the organization to meet the current emerging needs. So what are the needs of your organization? When you think about all of these 10 trends that you are seeing, which one of them that you need to focus on today? Which one of them is important for your organization? How can you partner or learn, connect? And I love common ground. Everything that you are doing within your organization, it's not new. So how can you learn from each other? How can you learn from others, and make sure that you are meeting the needs of your people? So some of the resources, there are a lot of resources out there, and I encourage you to look at the trends that you are seeing that is relevant to you. Make sure you go online, do some reading, and make sure you are connecting and making sure that you are looking at the trends that you have within your organization, looking at the data to make the best decision that you have. Would love to connect with you guys. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, with me. If you have any questions, would love to answer some of your questions right now. I'm gonna pause. This is my ways you can connect with me, but I would love to kind of like look at ask if there's any question right now that I may answer for you. I know this was a lot of data. I know there was a lot of information, but from a recruiting and training perspective, there are a lot of things out there, and whether it is all of these trends are applicable no matter what field you are in. You know, looking at data, looking at the technology within your field, looking at the workforce, addressing the workforce, making sure that from an onboarding and offboarding, you are utilizing the data that you need, the talent acquisition, the wellness, the diversity, the upskilling, reskilling, and flexible workforce, contingent workforce. It doesn't matter what industry. I was gonna, William, I was gonna trying to make it specific to HR, but I'm like, no, these things can, no matter what industry you are and what position you have, those trends will help no matter what. Yeah.
Sarah, this is Sharon. This is great training here. In regards to the upskilling and reskilling, do you find that your clients are using data to determine how to reskill their workforce? Are they using in-house data or like their IT department, or are they going to outsource companies to get the best practices?
Well, I think no matter what, hiring a consultant to come in to do the work, for it to really have meaning for you, it has to, that's what the customization is for the people that within your organization, right? No matter what, I can give us the same training to your organization and another organization, but the bottom line, for it to really be effective, I have to customize it to my people, to your people, for it to have meaning. And so regardless of if you are utilizing an external trainer, regardless if you are utilizing an internal, make sure that the data, you're utilizing the internal data to make sure that you're speaking to the people within your organization. So yes, I see both. I'm a consultant, people are bringing me in, but my training are customized to the need of that organization. The emphasis, that's the customization of what we are doing, is for the people within that organization. Yeah. Okay. And I think I saw a question here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think HR professionals are becoming more open to hiring older workers? I think that older workers, the experience, they've done it. They've been there, done that. And so I would say, do not diminish, do not look down on the older workers. You know, I think they have been there. There are a lot of things we can learn from them. And so I would say tap into them if you can. I always said, I don't hire people just because it's I want to make sure that the job when you hire, and whether it's a newer employees into the workforce or somebody with more seniority, make sure that they meet the requirement of what you are looking for, because obviously you have a business need. And if you can utilize someone who has some experience, why not? You know, come in here, the onboarding is going to be so much faster. Others can learn from them, and so on and so forth. So I would say for sure, when people hire me, organization hire me to source a position, I make sure there's a diversity of candidate. And that diversity is not only just based on race and gender and so on and so forth, but I make an experience too. So we make sure that there's an inclusion of all groups. Did I answer your question, Melissa?
You did. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, if there's no more questions, I am, thank you for having me.